All right. So once again, welcome everyone and good evening. Welcome to class. So today my camera isn't working, but I don't know why. So let me just go turn it off. So, but I believe you can hear me loud and clear. When it's time to turn on my or share my screen, I will do that, and you will be able to have access to my device. So once again, um, as part of the rules in the class, if you have any question, I will be navigating between my lecturers and the chat box to read up what people are asking. So if you have a question, you can quickly drop the question in the chat box and we will attend to it when it's time for question. Now, again, I would also want everyone to turn off their mics, or probably I'm going to just do that from here so that I don't allow anyone until I unmute you. You cannot speak. So, okay, so I believe everyone can hear me. Just type in the chat box that yes, I can hear you if you can hear me.
I
Okay,
am meeting with Ndocha.
please everyone should mute their mic. All right. So today we are going to be doing a whole lot of practical session. Well, the main practical is meant to be tomorrow, but for today we will start at least with the introductory aspect of data analytics, and then we will move into practical sessions today as well. And also by the end of this um, session, by tomorrow, I will send I will send the link to the files that you will download so that you can also practice. Tomorrow's class is going to be fully video class. So because I know the practical aspect of the course is not something you are going to be able to it's not something you are going to be able to finish up in a swoop, like just in a day. So I know very well when you start trying it out throughout the weekend, you will be on it. So I'm expecting to get your results by Monday. But you will have the videos from tomorrow so that we're going to start it today, tonight, then continuing tomorrow so that when you go home, you can settle down and go through all the exercises for the sake of getting it right. What I do in the video is exactly what you are going to do. At least once you can get that right, once you can get that right, then I know you will be able to do something else. But first, let's get it all right. So that being said, we're going to move on into the main aspect of the course, and that is What does a data analyst do? As a data analyst, what's your job description? You hear data analyst, data analyst, data analyst, data analyst. What do they actually do? And why are they so important? Well, the job description of a data analyst are diverse. When I mean diverse, that means a data analyst, if a company is making profit, it is ascribed to the data analyst. If a company is losing money, it is also ascribed to the data analyst. So, what the data analyst does is to look at the numbers of a business, analyze those numbers, and advise the company on better ways to improve products and services so that they can be more profitable. I'm going to take that again. The primary role of a data analyst in an organization is to help the company understand their business numbers, thereby advising them on how best to position their product and services so that they can make profit. So that's your job description as a data analyst. Then, if you find yourself in an office, the role you perform can be diverse. For instance, you could be given a whole list of sales data and you are asked to clean it up and analyze it. You could be analyzing monthly sales data. You could be analyzing weekly sales record. You could be analyzing um, social media comments. Yes, a company can ask you to go through their comment sections on social media and analyze the social media comments of everyone, let them know what people are saying about them. Now, if you run Facebook ads, Facebook gives you an insight on the insight dashboard to show you how your post is performing, who is looking at your post, who is liking, who is sharing, who is commenting, who is engaging. Facebook gives you all of that. Now, aside what Facebook gives to you, Facebook still have a raw data of your advert, how your ad is performing. That now gives you the time, the date, the whether people are watching your video from beginning to the end. They have a whole lot of numbers. So as the data analyst who is helping a company with their social media management, you are expected to extract the social media data and make sense out of it, and then advise the company on what to do. I understand based on the number of persons that participated or that registered for this course and the form that was filled. We have professors here, we have business owners, we have students, and we have artisans or unskilled professionals. Yes, like carpenters, mechanics, they are also in this class. And I can tell you categorically that everyone have the propensity to succeed as a data analyst. And I'm going to bring it very, very much down to a point where everyone can relate with it. So you are not lost along the way. So when we get into the practical aspect of the course, and we are doing certain things, you will understand the reason why we are doing those things that we are doing. So the next thing we are going to look at is, as a data analyst working in an organization, what tools do you work with? As a data analyst, there are quite a wide range of tools that you use in carrying out your job description. The tools you use is directly proportional to how well you know how to use that tools. Take for instance, Microsoft Excel does data analytics. Google Sheets does data analytics. Power BI does data analytics. R programming language does data analytics. Python does data analytics. SQL does data analytics, and a host of others. But that doesn't mean you will have to use all the tools just to analyze a data. I'm going to be telling you at what point do you use which. It all started with Microsoft Excel going into data analytics and helping companies to analyze their data, plotting graphs and all that. And then Google came into the picture and came up with Google Docs, Google Cloud, Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, and Google applications. So, as a result of this, why did I say that Google stepped it up? Why? Because Google now brought in cloud based data analytics. Everything about Microsoft Excel is taking place in your laptop, in your system, in your desktop those days. When Google came into the picture, they now went cloud computing. That means you can work using the internet. You are not limited by space, by time, by location. Provided you have an internet, you can run data analytics. And that was what set the pace and stepped up the game of data analytics or cloud-based data analytics. Someone is disrupting my class, but let's proceed. So, in running data analytics, you can actually run with Microsoft Excel. Though Excel 365 now have online version, just like we have Google Sheets. 80% of the task you will be working with in an office setting will be done using Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel. Yes, there are a lot of tools, but you should master the tools of most usage or use cases. If you do your research, as much as I have done, 80% of the tasks you'll be given in the office will be carried out using Excel, Google Sheets. At what point do you use SQL? You use SQL for large data sets. It's preferable for large data sets. For instance, I had access to all the contact details or yes, contact details of persons in different states in Nigeria, 36 states. Each state, like a state like Lagos, the contact I have alone is more than 10 million. 10 million Nigerian contacts. Yes. Now, Excel cannot process that kind of data. I think Excel has a capacity of 1.6 million rows. Once it passes that, Excel has reached its limit. But Excel now has another branch called the um, um, Excel query. Yes, the query, where you can also still move. It works just like SQL, but it is Microsoft Excel. You don't see it in a user interface kind of settings like the way your Microsoft Excel is. But the data exists, and you can actually migrate your data from that platform into dashboards like Power BI, Google Looker Studio, and the likes. At what point do you use Power BI? Power BI is more or less for dashboarding. That means you can use Power BI to do data visualizations and plot your dashboards. Another tool again you can use for data visualization is Google Data Studio. Google Data Studio is also a tool just like Power BI that you use for data visualizations to create graphs, charts, and plots. Then alongside that, we also have that of Python and R programming language. Python and R programming languages are tools for data analytics or machine learning. If you want to go advanced into machine learning and data science, then you should be looking at, in addition to all of these, you're looking at Python, you're looking at R programming language, and the likes. But you can stay within the bounds of Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, at least for a start. And if you want to go advanced, you can actually branch into other applications of data analytics. Now we have looked at the application aspect. For people that are in this class, I have business owners, business owners in the class here, and we also have students. Now, for business owners in the class, I know will be not everyone will be able to run the full course of data analytics, and that's why this particular course is very important for everyone. Why? Because it gives you a, a grip of what to expect. Should you employ the service of a data analyst? What should you expect as a business owner? I'm going to give you an instance. If you run a business and at this point you do not collect your data for your business, I can tell you categorically that you are leaving a whole lot of money on the table. You are leaving a whole lot of money on the table as a business person. There are three ways you can make money in any business. Three ways. First is by selling the product your business was designed to sell. Secondly is by partnership or third party engagement. That means when for instance, you are manufacturing um, Zobo, you can make money by selling the Zobo directly to consumers. Another way you can make money is when you are done producing the Zobo and you have the residue and you are not throwing it away, you are selling it to agro farmers. Now that's third party engagement, which is the way that doesn't involve your direct product for making money. But there is a third way of every business to make money, and which is through your data, the data you collect in your business. I'm going to tell you how you're going to make money from your data. If you are in this class and your business is existing for up to 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, even 1 year, your business has been existing for more than 1 year, and you have not collected business data, any money you have made by selling your goods and services for that period of time, you have lost times two or times three of that money by not collecting your data. And I'm going to tell you how. During the process of your business, a lot of persons have walked up to you and said, I want this. In some cases, you have it. In some cases, you don't have it. In business, data collection, everything is important. The things you sell, the things that you do not sell that someone needs, the time in which someone chooses to buy from you, the preferred type of product the person wants to buy, the size, so many things you can collect around your business. The way prices have fluctuated, the way prices have fluctuated over time. Let's say in January, it is costing 100 naira. In March, it rose to 150. In April, it dropped again to 125. So there is a fluctuation of price. But you can't keep track of this. If you collect business data, from your analysis, you'll be able to see the way your prices have gone over time. Now, it can also show you over a long period of time what people request mostly from your business. If I have a boutique, I think I gave it in the example I gave yesterday, and someone walks into my shop and is asking for Nike sneakers, and all I have is Jordan sneakers. 100 people walked into my shop, 80 persons are asking for Nike sneakers, and all I have is Jordan sneakers. And I didn't collect that data to even know that, oh, 80 persons have asked for Nike sneakers. I definitely will not be able to, it would just be playing or ringing in my head that it's like people are going to like Nike sneakers. But I don't have a I don't have a number base to hold it. But when you collect this data, it helps you to know what to stock, what to throw away, when to open your shop. I can tell you that there are businesses you only have business to open just 2 hours of the day. And those 2 hours, when you target it and open for those 2 hours, you will make the sales you have never made since you have been running the businesses. So data in business and life generally helps you to not just sell to your customers, but predict what your customers will order for the very next moment. So, having understood the importance of data analytics in business, now let's get into the subject matter. What is data analytics? What is data analytics? The word data analytics came from two words, data and then analyze. When you are able to pick a couple of numbers, words, letters, items, you're able to bring them together, look critically at them, and okay, take for instance, let me give you a simple experiment. When you put a knife in hot fire and you leave it for some time, what happens to the knife? It becomes red. Now, when I bring a knife that has a red tip without you seeing me put it on fire, what you are simply going to do is your brain is going to analyze the iron or the knife and tell you that, and it's going to now interpret to you that that knife is hot, even without you knowing that it was put in fire. But you are seeing it that it is red hot. Why? Your brain is actually analyzing the knife, the color of the knife, the smoke coming out from it is picking clues to tell you that the knife is hot. Now let's bring it down to data analytics. Your ability to be able to pick data, numbers, letters, and be able to get the common thing that makes it special is actually data analysis. Your ability to be able to pick up, um, giving a data set or giving a case scenario. I don't know if anybody can hear me. Hello? Please, if you can hear me, just type yes. Let me, because I think my mic is going off. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So let's proceed. Data analytics is your ability to make sense out of a given series of data. What is data? By science, data can be defined as raw fact. Raw fact. When we have something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are raw facts. But when we begin to now say even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8. So you now analyze the number. Is it an even number or an odd number? That becomes an information. That means you are now informed when you put a series of number into a bucket and you look at the bucket and you see all of them 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You can draw your conclusion and say these are a set of even numbers. Your ability to be able to look at those numbers and draw your conclusion and saying that these are even numbers is what we call data analytics. Now, that's a layman's definition or stepping it down. So let's move out from there. And now let's get to the data analytics process. Or before we get to the data analytics process, there are different types of data you can collect. So you can collect ordinal data when you are dealing with that's let's put it quantifiable data and ordinal data. Quantifiable data and numeric, something you can quantify that have you can count them like 1, 2, 3. We can say the age of a person. Yes, you can attach a number to it. The age of a person. But we are dealing with things like we have 6 balls or 6 donuts, 7 eggs. These are countable sets or data sets. So a data is either countable or uncountable, things you cannot count or quantify, and then things you can quantify or count. So in business or in life, your data will always fall in between these two different data sets. All right. That being said, let's move on to, okay, before we continue, this class is going to end in 3 minutes. When the class ends, just click on that same link to join the class again so that we can continue from there because now we want to go into the data analytics process. Let me summarize what we've said so that I don't start a new topic before we end the class. So what we've said so far is data analytics is important for your business because it helps you to make decision beyond emotions. You don't look at emotions to make decisions. You look at your numbers to make decisions. People will not fund your business if you do not have numbers to back up your point. And then when I moved from there to begin to look at the definition of what data analytics is all about, data plus analytics. If you have a group of numbers or a group of items and you're able to look at them and based on their qualities, based on their attributes, be able to draw meaning out of them. That's data analytics. Then what's data? Data is raw facts, the raw information. Your if I say MCDONALD, now that's data, is raw. But when I bring them together, it forms my name. I now call it McDonald. When I called only the letters, that's raw data. You can't make sense out of it other than say these are letters. But when I bring them together to form a word, it's no longer just data. It has now been processed or analyzed into information, which now turns out to be my name. And then we now came down to the various types, the two types of data, which are countable or uncountable data sets. Countable data sets are data sets you can attach numeric values to: seven eggs, 4 balls. Uncountable are things that you can only attribute. For instance, age group, 5 years old. You cannot count how many years is a child by saying one, two, three, but you can group them, a group of age grade. These are ages between 4 to 10. So they are in that, they can be categorized. So I think the class is going to end right now. So just click on that same link to come up again, and then we'll go into the data analytics process, which will now lead us into the practical aspect. Okay, so let's proceed. The data analytics process. Data analytics process. Now, as a data analyst, what actually makes you a data analyst is your ability to carry out data related tasks in an organized process. Now, as a data analyst, there are certain process and procedures with which you will use to carry out your task. You want to analyze a data. Why? What are the questions you will ask? How will you even know that you're actually doing the right thing? So we're going to be looking at this in a broader scope. And after we are done with the data analytics process, we will now begin the practical aspect of data collection. If time permits us today, then we'll continue the practical aspect again from tomorrow. So let's proceed. Before you can even start to say you want to analyze data, what should you do first? The first thing you need to do is to carry out a study, or in user experience design, it is called the discovery session. The discovery session. Now, what do I mean by the discovery session? I mean the point at which you get to understand what is expected of you. This is the origin. Every data analyst who wants to embark on a project without knowing the nitty gritty of that project cannot arrive at any meaningful conclusion. So you need to have first your discovery session. And how do you get your discovery session? Is by interacting with the client. Let's put it this way. I know in this class, I'm going to have a whole lot of business partners because I see everybody in this class as my partners. By the end of this class, I will give everyone the opportunity to go into their space and bring out data projects, and then we can execute it together. So you can even start making money even before you wrap up as a data analyst. But don't worry, after the course, you get to understand that. So if I ask you to get me a job, and for instance, you want to convince someone that you want to carry out their, uh, or you want to build a data management system for them, what are the kind of questions you need to ask these people? That's what we call the discovery section of the data analytics process. So you ask things like, so what are the problems you are currently facing? Okay, my I'm not making sales. I'm not making sales. Customers are not buying. When someone tells you I'm not making sales, you might just begin to conclude that, oh, probably he's in a bad location. Oh, maybe his content is bad. Or maybe he's having a bad product. As an analyst, you don't judge by emotions or just by mere sight looking. You will ask intelligent questions. For instance, you are not making sales. Okay, when was the last time you made a sale? Okay, I sold yesterday 6 p.m. Okay, how much did you sell? Okay, I made a sale of 100,000 naira. Before that, when was the other time you sold? Okay, I sold 2 weeks ago. So you mean for the past 2 weeks you didn't make any sale? Yes, I didn't make any sale. Okay, how many products do you have in your shop? Okay, we have three products, and which of them is the most selling product? Well, I think either this or this. Okay, so that means you are not sure. Yes, I'm not sure, but I know it's either of these two. Okay, now when you are asking and having this conversation as a data analyst, you are taking down your notes. Now, please take note. This is the section most data analysts ignore. This discovery session, they don't ask questions at all. And you know the reason why? Because data analysts who get job to do in an office are given the data they will work on. They don't find problems to provide solution to it. They spoon feed. If you are getting a job, the client gives you a data and say, work, help me analyze this data. But for you to think like an analyst and act like an analyst, you should be able to draw out problems. When a client meets you and said, I have a problem, you must be able to follow the client, work with the client to extract the cause of the problem. It will get to a point you say, okay, so can I see your books? Can I see your records? Do you have records? Do you keep records? Okay, so how long did it take you to produce this product? What's your selling price? What's your profit margin? You ask all the necessary questions. Do you open on weekends? Do you work on weekends? Okay, you work only Monday or Fridays, Monday to Fridays. When do you open the office? You open 7 o'clock. When do you close? You close 5 o'clock. Out of the day, which time of the day do you have your peak selling period? So you take all of these sections, all of these questions in your discovery session. When you are done with that information, what do you do with it? Now you now take this information and go down into your space go down into your space and begin to identify the kind of data you need to collect to solve the problem for your client. From everything, it might require you to begin to request for all the receipts he has ever issued, and then you track them receipt. You track the receipts, you track the receipts from the sales, from customers' feedback, whatever it is. You could even request for their social media handles. You want to see their social media data, whatever the data is. You can now begin to say, okay, these are the things I need. Then that leads us into the first stage of the data analytics process, and that is data collection. Data collection. After your discovery session, you collect your data because now you now know the type of data to collect. Now, in terms of data collection, there are different ways you can collect data. You can collect data via interview by asking questions, and then you write down your findings. That's also data collection. Like if you watch some social media ads, you see some people that do um, street adverts, street adverts, and then they put the mic on your mouth and they are asking you questions. That's data collection. Again, if you have if you are not doing or collecting um, data via interview, you could also collect data through online forms. You can collect data through online forms. And in the examples that we're going to do, you will be you will be collecting data using Google Forms. You'll be collecting data using Google Forms. And aside Google Forms, there are other forms you can use in the collection of your business data. So if you are not using forms to collect data and you are not using interview to collect data, you could also collect data from devices. For instance, the SMS in your phone. I have I have I have SMS that is being sent to me by MTN every single day telling me how much of my data is being used. If I pull out all those data for the past 6 months, I could tell the days I use more of my data, the the activity specifically that is consuming my data. So you could collect data from devices. If you have this clock in and clock out tool in your office that staff used to take attendance, you could also collect data from devices like that. You could collect data as well from online visitors to your website. So your data analytics or data collection procedures is wide. Just by having a conversation, you can collect data. So when you collect this data, because the data is coming from multiple sources, it is not going to come formatted and structured for you to begin your analysis. Therefore, it has to go through the process we call data formatting. If you don't call it data formatting, you can call it data wrangling. If you don't call it data wrangling, you call it data cleaning. When you collect your data, you need to clean up your data. And what does data cleaning means? It means putting your data in a state where it becomes ready for analysis. Data cleaning simply implies, or data formatting simply implies, removing the noise around your data and getting your data set for analysis. So this process of data cleaning is one of the most complex aspects in the process of data analytics. Why? Because if you are dealing with large volumes of data, you will need some specialized tools to clean up the data. And that's where tools like Excel comes in, Google Sheets, Power BI, even SQL, you can actually carry out data cleaning with all of these tools. After your data cleaning, then your data is now ready for analysis. You can now move to the next phase, which is data analysis. Now, data analysis, which is the third stage in the data analytics process, is when you begin to probe your data, like you are probing it. You know, when they say we need to probe the action, you are probing, you are asking questions. It's when you are trying to find out, you are acting like a detective using the data you have collected to find out what exactly is the problem my client is facing. So all of these questions that you have collected during your discovery session with your client, you now put them side by side in your analysis process and begin to find answers to those questions that your client is asking. So during the process of analysis, you can now begin to run what we call trend analysis. Trend analysis talks about trend, monitoring trend. You discover that every day you come back from work, you always have a pain on your feet at one particular spot. You took data, it happened today, it happened yesterday, it happened the next day. For the consecutively 2 weeks ago, it has been happening every day. So you have collected that data that something like that has been happening. When it comes down to analysis, and you're not trying to find out why. Why do you usually have pain on your right foot? You can now begin to trace certain things around your feet, which is like the footwear you are putting on. It could actually be maybe because you are driving and you are accelerating for a long period of time. It is during the process of analysis you begin to ask question why the pain is there. So finding out trend or reoccurring trends is what we call trend analysis. So when you are doing trend analysis, you are comparing time with occurrence, something happening over a period of time. Aside that, you can now begin to do comparative analysis, trend analysis, comparative analysis, where you are comparing two values or three values or different occurrences to find out the difference or what is outstanding or the common thing amongst or between those two values. In all of this, your analysis process is not complete until you are able to find convincing proof of what your data is saying. After the process of your analysis, when you are done with asking questions and you have been able to find answers to all of the problems that lies in your data, you now move into the next phase, which is data visualization. Now, data visualization is where you begin to tell stories because always bear this in mind. Your client is not a data analyst and does not understand the numbers on your spreadsheet, but you have to make it make sense. How do you make it make sense? That is by painting it in pictures, using charts, using graphs, histograms, colors. In that case, A data set that is up to 100,000 rows filled with numbers, numbers, numbers everywhere. It's confusing when the client looks at it. But when they look at the visuals, they could actually tell, oh, you mean we have made total revenue for the month is this, total profit made is this, total customers acquired is this. But all those things are in your data. When you are able to pick these things from your data to tell a story, a convincing story, that using charts, graphs, histograms, and other forms of visuals, that is what we call data visualization. Now, after data visualization, when you have done all of this, your job as an analyst is not complete yet. We can now move to the next side of data analytics. And this aspect stands on its own, and we call it the data interpretation. Now, bear this in mind. Everything that you have been doing, you are actually arriving at this point, interpretation of your data procedures and processes. It is in the process of interpretation you now tell your client, this is exactly what your problem is. I think most of your customers are school students, and school students have already gone to school as early as 7, and you open your office by 9. By 9, no school student is also is passing this road again. And again, some schools close around 2. You are taking your break time and lunch time by 2. So your 2 peak time, you are not open, so you are missing businesses. So he now makes a recommendation to say, change your open time, bring it from 9, bring it to 7. By 7, the shop should be open. Shift your break time to 12, between 12 and 12:30 or 12 to 1. That is recommendation number 1. You can also come up with a couple of other recommendations. And then the client now takes action based on what you have recommended for him or for her. So this is the whole process and procedures of the data analytics process. When you are able to take it from discovery session down to data collection to data cleaning or formatting, and then move it down to data analytics or analysis, and then up to data visualization, and then down to data interpretation. Then you have finished the process. So, with this being said, I would want to take maybe 3 to 4 questions before we go into the practical aspect. I believe by now you now have at least a picture, a mental picture of the procedures and the processes, so that when we go into practice and you see how this is being done, it will help you to understand data analytics much better from the perspective of solving a problem and not just getting a job. Don't get me wrong, getting a job is not bad, but there are other ways you can make money as an analyst, just aside getting a job. We discussed 10 of it yesterday. So at this point, I would want to go to the chat area and pick questions there to answer if there are any questions. And if there are no questions there, we will go straight into the practical section of the class. Okay, someone say, my question is, can you explain the trend analysis again? I didn't hear you clearly the first time. Now, trend analysis has to do with anything that involves time, anything that involves time and period. Take, for instance, when they say there is a trending song on TikTok, a trending song on TikTok, that trend has a time frame. After like 2 3 days or 1 week, you don't get to see that trend again. That trend has phased out. So when you are doing trend analysis in um, when you are doing trend analysis in data analytics, you are comparing events that happened over time, how it changes. Take for instance, you are running a trend analysis of the stock market or the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and you are trying to find out how Union Bank shares have plummeted over time or increased over time. So you now say you want to check a 6 month stretch of Union Bank shares. So you pick the month from January to July, which is the seventh month. So you now begin to check. The price went up in May 3 times. It dropped again in, okay, it went up in March, dropped in April, went up in June, like that. When you are looking at something over time, that's called trend analysis. So I believe that explains what trend analysis is. So another person say types of data collection. Like as I said, there are different types of data collection. You can collect data via interview just by having a conversation. You can collect data from interviews. You can collect data from observation. During scientific experiments, when you are in schools, for those that are in science classes, where you are doing experiments and you carry out a scientific process, you are being told in physics you need to observe and record, observe and record. So via observation, you can collect data. Another way is through the use of online forms. And I said in the example we're going to be using, we'll use Google Forms to collect data. If you are not using Google Forms, you can use, there are wide range. There are so many different forms that you can design and send to your contacts, and they use it to give you the data that you need. If you are not doing that, another way is collecting data through devices. That means you can collect data from fingerprints, thumbprints, uh, these attenders clock in and clock out. You can collect the data. If you have a manufacturing machine, like POS machine now, yes, you can collect data of all the transactions that happen in that POS machine. If you have a token, a bank token, you can actually collect data from there. The sources or the data you can collect is wide. Even from your social media comments, you have 1,000 people saying things under your post. You can actually ask your staff to collect all those comments and extract the data from inside, turn them into numbers, and then analyze them. So someone said, how can I earn in data analytics without getting a job? I wasn't present at the last meeting. Well, for this, I will advise you get yesterday's meeting notes. I'm going to be posting it in the materials group so that you can read through. There are 10 different ways I discussed yesterday that you can make money as a data analyst. Someone say, who is a data analyst and what is the work of a data analyst? This is the first thing I said in this class. A data analyst is someone who collects or helps a company to understand their numbers and make meaning out of their numbers. You are not called a data analyst because they employ you to sit and give you a computer to work with. You're actually helping the company to solve problems. If the company does not make profit, the data analyst is held responsible. If the company is doing well, the data analyst is also praised. Why? Because it is the advice you give the company that the what the company runs with. Okay, so I think for now that will be all for the question. We are going to move straight into the practical aspect of this course. Just give me 1 minute. Let me set up my system and then share my screen with us. So we'll begin with the practice. Let me share my screen. Okay, so I want to believe you can have a glimpse of my screen. Okay, um, okay, so if you can see what I have here, now for us to have a smooth class, I have I have put down the question we want to answer. Remember, I told you data analytics is all about being able to answer questions and solve problems for your client. In this case, I have a case study here, which we are going to be dealing with in the course of this class. Let me try and zoom my screen so you see. Good. So you can see a practical demonstration. A company is willing to invest in your city, but wants to find out the best position to adopt in order to win more buyers to buy their products. You have been hired as a data analyst to give them all the necessary details to assist them in making data driven decisions for success. So, this is a question we want to answer as data analysts. Everyone in this class, I consider you prospective data analysts in the making. So, we are colleagues now, all of us. As far as una don't reach this level, all of us now, we don't be G, we be colleague now in this whole matter. So just listen and pay attention. And here are the things we are going to do. Here's the solution. We want to understand first. Remember, I told you the first thing you do is to study and understand the problem you want to solve. So, first thing, we want to understand how people spend their money. What is influencing people's buying decisions? Why are people buying? Why are people spending money? How often do people shop online? Because the business is an online store. So we want to know, at least once we're able to find out these three things, it will help us to know how to advise this company on what to do. And the procedures we're going to be using is we're going to collect data, we're going to clean and format the data, we will analyze the data together, we will visualize the data, and then we will now come up with our conclusion. This is everything we are going to have to do during this process. Now, let us have a look at the data we want to collect. I have listed out the data I want to collect from my that can help me to identify. Now, this data can be gotten from people who are shopping. I'm asking random people. to give me their, when you were registering, I asked you a question for market research. Now, do you realize something, that my lecture is tilted towards the people in this class because I understand from the data I've collected that these are the class of people that I have in this class. So I know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to business owners. I could use business related examples. I'm talking to students because I have students in this class. So I could use student related examples. The data you collect is directly proportional to what you can extract and the solutions you can solve. So in this case, these are the data I want to collect. I want to collect the age group. So, and this is going to be a drop down. That means when you click, it's going to pull down, then you select your age grade. What options are going to be on the drop down? We're going to have age 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, and then 55 plus. And then we come down to the other one, the gender, male, female, I prefer not to say. Somebody will ask me, are there other gender apart from male and female? Well, according to the international law, they say you should not discriminate. Thank God for Trump as he came. During the presidency of Joe Biden, you cannot design a form and put only two options. It will be flagged. It will be flagged. They will say you are discriminatory. So you must give everybody room to select. I prefer not to say it's better, even though people will select male or female, but leave the other one as an option. Most especially when you are creating an international um, data collection procedure. You must factor in all of these. All your process must be inclusive. Don't do it because, oh, I'm a Christian and Christian is only male and female. When you are running data analytics, you must clear out all bias. The international standard says you must create room for all genders, even transgender, male, female, as the case may be. So your form should always have, I prefer not to say. Some forms self will go beyond prefer not to say. They will put it transgender male, transgender female. In some forms, you see it like that. So next is monthly spending on essentials. We want to find out how much you spend to buy essential things. Like I asked you in the question, what do you buy frequently? Some of you said toothpaste, some said data, some say agro products, some said food stuff. So we want to see what they spend on essential. So this one is going to be a short answer, just a space for them to type it in. So, and I say prompt, enter the number. They should enter the number. How much they spend, they should enter only numbers. Then monthly spending on non-essentials, what they spend on non-essentials, the same thing. How often do you shop online? We want to know how often people shop. This is going to be a multiple choice. They can select daily, weekly, monthly, or rarely. Now, your preferred payment method, banks, multiple choice, cash, bank transfer, card, or wallet. Okay, so again, I think the class is going to end now. Just click back on the link. When you come up, we're going to begin creating the form. I've already created the form, but I'll show you how the form was created. So I'll see you when we come back again. All right. So let's proceed with what we have. Now, as we are going about this, bear in mind the process, the data analytics process that we just discussed. Discovery session, the data collection, data formatting, data analytics, data visualization, and data interpretation. We were currently on this sheet looking at the data we want to collect. So we have looked at preferred payment method. We want to look at how they would like to pay for their groceries. What brand of product do they spend money on? On a scale of 1 to 5, how important are discounts or promos? We want to know if giving discount is going to help them to buy or trigger their buying decisions. Then we're also going to be looking at which social media influences their spending, and then how would you recommend uh, your favorite brand to a friend and why? So these are the type of field we will use. These are the options that's going to be on the field. Then during the cleanup, these are the um, these are the formulas and functions we'll be using to clean up the data. We may not use all of them, but at least whatever the data that we collect will require, we should be able to get all that from here. Now I'm going to tell you something about formulas when we get to that point. So now that we have analyzed the situation, we now know exactly what to do. We know the data to collect. Let's proceed to go and collect the data. First, you need to create your form. This is the form I have created using that. You can see age group. When you click down, you see all the age grades. They are there. Gender, you see male, female. I prefer not to say is there. Then how much you spend monthly on essential, non-essential. Then how often do you shop online? Daily, weekly, monthly, rarely. So this is the form. Now I want to walk us through how I got to create this so that you can actually create a form. If you are holding a training today, you can create a form and ask people to come and register for your training using the form. So let us begin um, immediately. So let's open a new browser, or let's go to, now I'm using Google Forms, so you can get that by typing forms.google.com. You can see what I type on the bar. Let me zoom closer so you see. Okay, it's not zooming. Forms.google.com. And when you press enter, it loads up. While that is loading, okay, I think it's opening. All right, so here we go. When you open Google Forms, you will get this interface. If you have not used Google Forms before, you will only see these things that are on the top here. All these are different forms I have created to collect different data. All these forms you see here, they are different forms I have used to collect different data, including the one you people registered using registering for this course. You can see it here, Data Analytics 2026. Sorry. So let's create a blank form. Now you can also create form from templates. These are different templates you can use in creating your form. So let's proceed and come here and click on blank form. So when you click on it, Google Forms open up the form like this. It's going to come empty this way. You will be the one to give it a title or a name. So let's call this um, practice data one. So the form name is practice data one, or we can call it survey response. It could be anything that conveys the message you want the people filling the form to see is what you put here. And don't forget, you also need to name it here as well. But you can see the name we put here, I've already shown here as well. So now you can now begin to add your details. So let's go down to the first. Um, First is age group, and we said it should be a drop down where they select their age group. So let's create that. So you come down to this plus. On this plus, you can add different form field. These things are called form field. Like if you want to answer or create a quiz, you can also use this procedure to create quizzes. You can see you can add questions here. You can also click on this to change the type if this is not what you are looking for. So when you come here, you click, you see different options: short answers, paragraph, multi-choice, checkbox, drop down, file upload if you want people to upload their receipt or their pictures, linear scale, rating if you want people to rate something, multiple choice, multiple checkbox grid, date, and time. So these are the different types of data you can collect. Some of them are numbers like currencies, some of them are dates, some of them are time-based uh, data type. So in this case, we want to collect a multiple choice question. Now, in the real sense, going by web standard, multiple choice supposed to be able to give a user opportunity to select more than one choice. Single choice option supposed to be this, but in Google form it is called multiple choice. I don't know why they named it that way. So here we have selected multiple choice and then we ask the question age group. So under age group, remember we already have in our form what we want to put there. Under age group, we have 18 to 25, 18 to 24, 25 to 34. So I'm going to copy this from the sheet, go down to the form, put my mouse on option 1 and paste it there. I will cut off from here to here and click here and paste this. Remember, I could have typed this manually, but I just want it to be fast. That's why you can see I'm pasting the options. And then finally, So we are done with the first question. We have created the first um, data field. Now, there are other things you can do. If you want it compulsory for them to fill before they submit, you make this required. You can turn this on, this button here, so it becomes a required field. They cannot submit the form until they have submitted or they have filled this particular section of the form. And then you could also add a description. When you add description, you can say, please enter your age or select your age group. So we are done with this. Now let's move to the next question, which is gender, male or female. For male or female, we can just simply duplicate this. We duplicate. Now we change this from age group to gender. And then we delete this, delete this, delete this. So let's have male, and then let's have female. And then the third one, prefer not to see. So we will come and change this description and say select gender. So we are through with the second. Oh, the gender is spelled wrongly. We are through with the second question. The third question on our list, monthly spending, and that's a short answer. How much do you spend on food? Sorry, how much do you spend on essential items? So I could just copy this question, copy it, come down to the form. I can duplicate this. Somebody is using the whiteboard to draw on my screen. So I've duplicated this gender. I'm going to change the type to short answer. This is the type short answer. It's going to remove those options. So I can just select here and paste the question. Monthly spending on essentials. So this food, transport, utilities, I could cut it off and put it here in the description box. Now, the description is not part of your data you are collecting. It only gives the person filling it an example of what they can put in that place. We are through with the third question. You can see how easy it is to create form and collect your data. Let's see if there's any other one we've not done. The next one is short answer. We're going to skip it. How often do you shop online? Multiple choice. We've done that before. Preferred payment method. That's the same thing. I'm actually skipping those sections because I have them in the form that we have created before now. That's this form. So you can see it. This is the age group. This is the gender, essentials, non-essentials, daily, weekly, monthly, or rarely, cash or bank transfer payment method, what brand or product do you spend most time each month? You enter that. This is also short answer. On a scale of 1 to 5, how important are discounts and promos when making a purchase? We've not created something like this, so let's go to our form and let me show you how to create this type of field. So come down here I can duplicate this and then come down to this drop down and change it to linear scale, which is this. So I can say I paste my question here on a scale of 1 to 5. So you can see 1 to 5. If I want to put um, weekly, daily, so and come down to 0. So with that, okay, sorry, this is not the weekly question. This is important or very important, 1 to 5. So on our data, we change this to important, and here, very important. So after you have filled the form, let's assume you have finished filling the form. How do you set it for people to start responding to you? You come down to where we have publish. If you don't publish your form, people cannot fill it. So you can click on publish. Now, responders, anyone with the link, we can manage this to see. Now, this is where you set the privilege. You can see anyone with the link can respond. So it is already set. If not, if this was showing restricted, that means people cannot fill the form. But you see editor's view. You who created the form, these have to be restricted to viewers so that they don't edit your form. So when you are done and you have set up everything here, just click done. And once you click done, you can click on publish. So this particular form we just created is now live, and you can see the link here. So I can copy the link and send it to anybody I want to fill this survey. So let's paste the link here and see the form we just created. Now you can see the form we just created. So see how this is, and you can see. So that being said, we have been able to collect our data. On this place, you can see where I have raw data. Now, when you collect your data using Google Forms, this is not the way the data comes in. After collecting the data, filling the form and submitting, it comes well organized. I actually scattered the data and throw a lot of rubbish into the data. So there's a lot of jargons in this data so that we can actually clean it up during the class. But here is where we are going to. During the cleaning process, our goal is to transform this data that you are seeing here into this. That's this. You can see how clean up the data is. As the data is like this, we cannot analyze it this way. We cannot analyze, the data is dirty. You don't even know what to do with this. But after cleaning up the data, we can have this. So the cleanup exercise that you are going to do tomorrow is going to show you how to transform the data from that into this. Now, after the data has been cleaned up like this, we can now start the analysis. So on this same sheet, I have the analysis here. And during my analysis, this is what I want to find out. The total response, how many people answered the questions, the average amount spent by a customer, average amount spent by a customer on essential, non-essential, total amount spent by a customer on essential. Now, these two are two different things. This one is asking you of the average amount spent. This is asking you the total amount spent, and then the shopping frequency, the most common brand, the top three brands by count using formulas. So these are all the things we want to be able to draw out from our analysis. So from this data that I collected here, from this data that you see here, we can tell the total respondents is 25. You can see the formula we use to get that. Average essential spend is this. So in the practicals that you will do tomorrow, the video I'm going to send you, I'm going to record the step-by-step procedures on how we arrived at this. During the analysis, we are able to go from point A, we got these ones, and then moving down to this section, we now got the products and the details of each product, the percentage contribution of each of these products, and then we now come down to shopping frequency, weekly, monthly, daily, rarely, and the count, and then down to what triggers their buying decisions. And after you are done with your analysis, which is all of these are your analysis. We now move down to data visualization. As you can see here, this is the same data that we have visualized. So you can now see, based on the total products, Tecno and Samsung have the highest in terms of product that they should focus on. And then we now have the percentage brand analysis. We can see Samsung and Tecno are giving us 19%, Samsung 19%, then followed by MTN and Coca-Cola. Then here, monthly spending, you can see non-essentials and essentials. See how much is spent on essentials and how much is spent on non-essentials. Then moving down to shopping frequency, how often do people shop weekly? Most people shop monthly from our data, followed by weekly, then rarely, and then daily. And then after we are through with that, for the trend analysis question, now this is what a trend analysis look like. So we are counting the total number of people who said that discount is important for them to make decisions. And that's the graph we have here. And finally, we have the data interpretation process and suggestions. So based on the analysis that we've done, we can now advise the company on this. So we are asking them they should focus more on stocking essential items in their store. They should stock more of average customer spending limit priced goods. Why did we say that? Because if you check their spending, the average amount a customer is spending in your shop is 59,000 plus. If you put items worth 80,000, 100,000, they might be on your shelf for a long time without you selling them. So, based on this analysis, we are advising them that they should stock more of average customer goods on their store, and then stock more of Techno, Samsung, and any of Coca-Cola or Jumia and MTN products. They should also run discount sales to promote daily and rarely shoppers. And then frequent discount sales is also advised. So this whole process is the full process of this is a data analytics process that we have carried out today. So you're going to be getting the videos, not just the videos, you will also be getting the sample, this sheet. As you are looking at the sheet, I'm going to be giving you this sheet as well with the raw data. I'll be giving you this raw data, and I will also make a video on how I cleaned up this data from this into this, so that you will do your own analysis. So with this, I'm going to end the practical session here and give you room to ask questions. We have just about 7 minutes before the class will end, and I would like us to just entertain questions within that 7 minutes. Anyone we didn't finish now, you can ask the question in the group. So good enough. We have some time for questions. So let me go down to the chat area to see the questions that we have. Okay, someone said I have gotten my student ID. For all those who have not gotten yet, you will get your student ID from tomorrow. You will need your student ID to be able to submit this assignment that I'm going to give you tomorrow. So, okay, someone said the network is bad. So if you have questions, you can actually ask your question, or you raise up your hands and I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself so you can ask. Okay, someone said, what is the source of your raw data? Well, from all you can see in the analysis or during the process, our data source is through Google Forms. We use Google Forms to extract those data. I only just scattered the data so that I can clean it up to show you how to clean up a data. Remember what I told you. Someone said, please, this data analysis that you did, can it also be sent and visualized in Power BI excellently well? I didn't want to go into that because that's advanced for this class. At least everyone should be able to use Excel, Google Sheets to do this. In short, Power BI gives you even more options. Google Looker Studio gives you even more far options and the likes. Okay, someone said a lot of info, but very interesting. I always said I am not tech savvy, but I actually like this. It would be good to do an analysis on my own information. I really can't wait. This is Zaron Damonse. I can't wait to see your analysis of your own information. Okay, someone said, after the Google form, how do you publish it? It's simple, just click on publish. When you click on publish and set the privilege to respondent can fill, that's all. You have published your form and you will see the link. Just copy the link and send it to everyone who wants to submit the form. Okay, while I still keep waiting for you to ask other questions, in summary of what we've done today, I want you to see this as a uh, tip of the iceberg when it comes to data analytics. Okay, Joy's hands are raised. Joy's hand is raised up. So let me, okay, you can unmute yourself, Joy. You can talk to us.
Okay, good evening. Good
Good
evening, sir.
evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes,
Yes,
welcome.
thank you. Nation, it's very straightforward. So I just wanted to ask, I when you do Google Form and it takes you to the Excel sheet,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You said you scattered the data because I know I use Excel sheet and
Okay.
is it scattering the data that mean you have to start putting apostrophes in all the is that what you mean by scattering the data?
O- okay. Okay. I get your question. When you use Excel and Google Sheets, or when they fill the form actually come organized. In short, just I think
Yes.
I still have 4 minutes. Let me share my screen and show you um, the registration data for this course that I collected to show you how the data usually
Mm.
come when you fill the form. Sorry, this Zoom is okay. Yes, I can move this down. So on my data, let's see where my sheet is. Okay, so this is the data.
Yes.
So you can see how it comes from Google Sheets.
Yes.
This is how organized and structured the data is. So when it comes like this, I now copied everything and took it to Notepad and
Okay.
yes, and removed all the formatting, introduced a lot of errors, zeros, missing values. I deleted some values so that during the process of walking through the data on how to clean is a messy data, I can use that one in teaching the students how to clean up data. Okay, so
Okay.
I have, I believe I've answered your question.
Is it a necessary step?
The data cleaning,
Yes, as in adding the zeros and all those things.
no, for the sake of this class, that's why I did it. It's not compulsory. You must not go and scatter your data
Okay.
to rearrange it. And
Okay. Uh-huh.
my,
That's what.
okay, um, Abimbola Utukwa, my PA.
Yes. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for active session. Please, my question is in the chat box. I just want to draw your attention to it.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Okay, Israel, because
Thank
we
you.
just have about less than 2 minutes. You can ask your questions in the group chat on WhatsApp, but let's hear Israel. Let me check the chat box. Israel, you can
Okay,
talk.
sir. Good evening, sir. Yeah, good
Fine.
evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, sir, for the class. So I just wanted to ask concerning and the Excel. I mean, I don't know if you're giving us an assignment today, but how are we going to be able to, put all the information into the Excel sheet?
Don't worry. The video I'm going to record tonight, because after this class, I'm going to record the full process in a video, which I will send to you and also give you the file to practice. I said after this course, you should be able to work as a data analyst somewhere. That's my goal. So I want to give you everything that will help you to do that. Mrs. Abimbola, yes, you can work back from Google Sheets to Excel, Excel to Google Sheets. They work and operate the same way. If the class ends, we can continue the conversation in the group chat. Thanks to everyone